Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're looking at Electric Blue Jack Dempsey Cichlids. We found this really interesting blog post by somebody named Ang, and looks like they're really interested in breeding these fish.
Yeah, it looks like they've been documenting their journey for a while. And they're not shying away from the challenges. Like right off the bat, they mention potential genetic problems from inbreeding, which is something you have to really consider with EBJDs.
Yeah, for sure. But before we even get into the nitty-gritty of that, for our listeners who haven't seen one, how would you describe an Electric Blue Jack Dempsey?
Okay, imagine a fish just covered in gemstones.
Yeah.
Really deep blues, almost iridescent sometimes with these flashes of green. And it really does look electric, especially if you've got the right lighting.
Wow, so they're,
Yeah, and the colors change too, depending on their mood, how the light's hitting them, so they're pretty mesmerizing.
yeah, I can see why they're called Electric Blue.
Yeah.
What about the Jack Dempsey part?
Well, you think of the boxer, and it's kind of fitting. These fish, they can be feisty, especially when they're defending their territory. Aang describes them as having a regal swagger, which I kind of have to agree with.
Regal swagger, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That must be fun to watch. But going back to that inbreeding thing, why is that such a big problem for a species?
So it's all about genetics, right? Every fish, every living thing has these genes that decide their traits. Everything from their color to their behavior. And sometimes these genes, they have variations called recessive genes. You can think of them like blueprints. But they only get used if the fish gets the same blueprint from both parents.
Oh, so if they get a different blueprint from each parent, then that recessive one just kind of stays hidden.
Exactly. But when you have inbreeding, where fish that are closely related keep breeding together, those recessive genes are way more likely to pair up, and that can lead to problems. Maybe they're more susceptible to certain diseases, or maybe it affects their growth or behavior in a bad way.
So it's not just about how they look. It's about their health, their well-being. And I think Ang mentioned that EBJDs used to be really expensive. Is that because healthy fish are just so rare?
It's definitely part of it. You have to remember breeding fish with potential genetic problems. That's a big risk.
Yeah.
Not every breeder is going to be able to produce healthy, vibrant offspring.
Yeah.
So the ones that can, they're in high demand. It's just supply and demand.
Right.
And then you have to think about the cost of caring for them. They need a specific environment to thrive, special food, maybe even supplements, and of course a tank that's big enough for them to have their own space.
So anybody out there thinking about getting an EBJD, be prepared to invest some time and money and make sure you're getting them from a reputable breeder.
Yeah, definitely. And that actually brings us to another challenge that Aang mentioned in their blog. The photos they posted, those are juvenile EBJDs, so it can be really difficult to sex them, even for experienced breeders. It's tough to tell males and females apart until they're older.
So why is that so important for breeding? I mean, can't you just put a bunch of them together
Yeah.
and let nature take its course?
Well, it's not quite that simple. First, you need to make sure you actually have both males and females. Otherwise, breeding's not going to happen. And knowing the sexes helps you control the breeding. You can pair fish strategically so you get the traits you're looking for, or avoid certain genetic combinations.
So it's kind of like playing matchmaker,
Yeah, a little bit.
but with much higher stakes.
Yeah.
But with all these challenges, the genetics, the sexing, what is it about these fish that makes Aang so determined to breed them?
Well, just look at those photos. Even as juveniles, the colors are incredible. And they're not just pretty fish. They're intelligent, they're engaging, they have that personality, that regal swagger Aang was talking about. They're characters.
Yeah, they're not just decorations. They're like little personalities swimming around. And it looks like Aang has a whole list of other cichlids that they're interested in. What are some of the fish that you might see on a cichlid enthusiast's wish list?
Oh, well, there are so many. The cichlid world is huge. There's something for everyone out there. Let's get into that a little more. Because there's a huge variety of colors, shapes, behaviors. It's really captivating. I mean, if you're looking for something unique, there's the flower horn. That big hump on their head. Some people think they look like a unicorn. And they come in all sorts of colors and patterns.
Oh, wow, they sound pretty cool. What about personality? Are there any that are known for being really playful or intelligent?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The Oscar cichlid is supposed to be like a dog. People say they recognize their owners.
Yeah.
And they even play with toys in the tank. And then there's the red devil cichlid. Super vibrant red color.
Yeah.
But pretty aggressive, so you have to be prepared for that.
So do your research before you add any new cichlid,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you already got EBJDs. Speaking of research, Aang's blog mentioned they had this long list of things to learn about breeding EBJDs. What kind of stuff do you think they're looking into?
Well, the first thing is the breeding tank. It needs to be suitable. Remember EBJDs? They like their space, so you need to give them enough room. And it's not just about size. You've got to set it up like their natural environment as much as possible. Think about the temperature, the pH, the hardness of the water, even the type of substrate and decorations.
Like making a little Amazon rainforest in your house.
Exactly. And just like in the wild, diet is super important for breeding. Aang will have to make sure the fish are getting all the right nutrients, lots of protein to get them ready. But even then, there's no guarantee. Cichlid breeding can be unpredictable. There are so many factors.
So patience and observation are key. Talking about observation, earlier we were saying how hard it is to sex juvenile EBJDs. What about adults? Are there any obvious differences?
With some cichlids, it's pretty easy. The males might be bigger or more colorful, but with EBJDs, it can be subtle. You might see little differences in the fins or the body size, but a lot of times you have to look at their behavior.
Okay, so what kind of behaviors?
Well, males are usually more territorial, especially when it's breeding season. You might see them flaring their fins, trying to scare off other males, or even lip locking.
Lip locking. What does that even look like with fish?
It's pretty much what it sounds like. Two fish, usually males, they lock their lips together like a tug of war. It's how they figure out who's dominant.
Wow. Fish are so strange.
Yeah, but also kind of cool.
Okay, so you've got the tank set up. Your EBJDs are healthy. You know who's male and female. Do they just start breeding?
Heck, if only it were that easy. It can happen. But usually you need to give them the right cues. Like you could raise the water temperature a little to mimic the rainy season and make sure you've got good spawning sites, flat rocks, pieces of driftwood, even paracotta pots.
So they need a specific place to lay their eggs.
Yes, and the male and female. They'll both work on cleaning and getting the site ready. And once the female lays her eggs, the male fertilizes them, and then the real work begins.
That's where the parental instincts kick in.
Absolutely. A lot of cichlids, including EBJDs, they're super dedicated parents. They'll guard those eggs, fan them with their fins to keep them oxygenated, chase away any other fish that gets too close.
So it's more than just having babies. They really raise them.
Exactly. And the care continues after they hatch. Some cichlid parents will herd their fry around the tank, keep them safe, show them where the food is.
Herd them. Like a shepherd.
It's pretty amazing to see. And some cichlids, they have this special trick. They produce a nutrient-rich secretion from their skin, and the fry can feed on it.
Wait, they feed their babies with skin slime?
It's true. It sounds weird, but it's full of nutrients and helps the fry grow.
Wow, cichlids are the best parents. So going back to Aang's blog and that long to-do list, what other fish do you think they might be adding to their tank? We've talked about some popular cichlids, but what about fish that could actually live with EBJDs? Is that even possible?
It is, but you have to be really careful. You can't just throw any fish in there and hope for the best. They need to be compatible in terms of size, temperament, water parameters.
Okay, so what are some good options? Do they have to be just as feisty as the EBJDs?
Not really. You can go with peaceful fish, but they have to be able to hold their own. And the tank needs to be big enough so everyone has their own space.
It's all about balance. Can you give us some specific examples?
Well, some types of Procostomus or plecos can be good. They hang out at the bottom, usually pretty peaceful. And they eat algae, so they help keep the tank clean.
So they're like the cleaning crew.
Exactly. Another option is some of the bigger catfish, like Synodontis catfish. They've got those cool whiskers.
Oh yeah, those are so cool. They look prehistoric.
And they're really hardy and adaptable, so they can handle being with a more boisterous fish, like the EBJD. Now, this is just a starting point. There are other possibilities, but always do your research before you add anything new.
Good advice. I'm learning so much about cichlids. Before we wrap up, though, is breeding all types of cichlids as complicated as EBJDs?
No, not at all. Some cichlids are like breeding machines. Convex cichlids, for example. They're known for breeding really easily in captivity. They're great for beginners if you want to try breeding cichlids without all the challenges we've been talking about.
So like easy mode cichlid breeding.
You could say that they're pretty straightforward, and they're really good parents. You'll definitely have your hands full with a tank of baby convex cichlids.
Wow, from breeding machines to fish with regal swagger.
The cichlid world is really diverse.
It is, and that's what makes them so cool. It's not just about breeding. You've got all these amazing colors, shape sizes,
Yeah.
and their behaviors are just as varied.
You could spend your whole life learning about cichlids.
Oh, easily. There's always something new to discover.
Definitely.
And that's why so many aquarists are drawn to them. There's always a new challenge. Maybe you want to breed a difficult species
Mm.
or create the perfect tank for a whole community.
Yeah, it's like having this little ecosystem right there in your living room.
Exactly.
And once you start learning about them, it changes how you think about them. It does. Responsible fish keeping is more than just feeding and cleaning. You have to understand their needs, create an environment where they can be themselves, be aware of where they came from, and the impact of the aquarium trade.
For sure. You can't just grab any fish from the store. These are living creatures.
They are.
So for our listeners who are now obsessed with cichlids, what are the best ways to learn more?
Oh, there's so much out there. Books, online forums, websites dedicated to specific species. Talk to reputable breeders. Join your local aquarium society.
And I bet there are some great online communities too.
Oh, yeah, tons. Cichlid people are really passionate. They love to share their knowledge and help out newbies. You can find groups on social media, dedicated forums, YouTube channels.
It sounds like a whole new world.
It is.
Well, we've only just scratched the surface today, but hopefully we've piqued your interest and given you a glimpse of why these fish are so captivating.
Maybe even inspired some of you to start your own cichlid tanks.
That would be awesome. So if you could design your dream cichlid tank, what would it look like? Would you try to recreate a specific natural habitat? Or would you build your own unique community? What species would you choose? How would you balance their needs with your own style? That's something to think about. As you continue your deep dive into the world of cichlids,